Hello, church. My devotional today is called A Prayer in Times of Affliction. And it reminds me of the story we find in 1 Kings chapter 18, when the prophet Elisha is asking God to bring rain. You know that, by the way, the chapter tells us that Elisha is the last prophet of God in the land. It also tells us that Ahab, which is the one who is leading Israel at that point, is trying to get rid of and has gotten rid of all God's prophets. The Bible tells us that Ahab is a man who has followed other gods, and when God tells Elisha to go and see Ahab, him knowing that he's the last one of the prophets in the land, he does it. He goes in obedience. We also know that in the chapter there's a big famine happening in the land. So when Elisha comes right in front of Ahab, he says, here I am. And the first thing that Ahab replies is that really you, troubler of Israel? Why would you think that Ahab will say all this? Well, because Ahab knows that there's the power of God is in Elisha. Ahab knows that Elisha is a man who trusts the Lord and that he fears the Lord, and therefore he is used by God. Elisha goes into telling him that he has actually forgotten God's way and followed false gods, and he's leading Israel into that, and he tells him that his God will send rain. And he is the last prophet, and he will show that to him because he knows that God is a powerful God. He even tells Ahab, bring your 450 prophets that you have and see if your gods, their gods, are going to be able to answer to our prayers and supplications that we have for rain. So what they do is they meet together at Mount Carmel, and the false prophets, they do a sacrifice, they build a sacrifice, the same for Elisha. And these prophets, what they're doing is they put the animal on the place where they're going to make the sacrifice. They start making all kinds of rituals and different things. They even cut themselves, and they, show blood just to make sure that their gods are going to hear their prayers. Well, guess what? Nothing happens, of course, because there's only one God and the only one God that answers. So then it's Elisha's turn. And what he does is he actually tells the people, build the place where we're going to do the sacrifice, and even make a trench around the place, because I know my God is powerful. And this is where we take on our reading. This is from 1 Kings chapter 18, verses 36 to 39. And it says, at that time of sacrifice, the prophet Elisha stepped forward and prayed, Lord, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, let it be known today that you are God in Israel, and that I am your servant and have done all these things at your command. Answer me, Lord, answer me, so these people will know that you, Lord, are God, and that you are turning their hearts back again. Then the fire of the Lord fell and burned up the sacrifice, the wood, the stones, and the soil, and also licked up the water in the trench. When all the people saw this, they fell prostrate and cried, the Lord, He is God. The Lord, He is God. Amen. The Lord, He is God. This reminds me that a prayer has so much power. Dear church, when we are feeling that we don't know who can answer, why don't we bring our supplications, our prayers and petitions right in front of God? The same God that Elisha has is the same God that we have. The same way that Elisha went into God's presence to ask for something to be done is the same way that we can go into God's presence and ask him to help us with something that we need, to ask him to carry our burdens and deliver for us. He did deliver for Elijah. And that's wonderful, because not just fire came down, but a few hours later, rain came down and the famine was stopped. The same way God can do miracles right now. And I just want to remind you that today and this week, that even when things look different around the world and in our nation, I want to remind you to bring all these things in your mind, in our minds, right in front of God, and believe that he can do miracles. I want to finish our devotional today with these words of hope. And this is from 2 Chronicles 7:14. If my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and I will forgive their sins and I will heal their land. My church, let's come into prayer for God to heal our land, for God to hear our prayer. We have a powerful God. He will deliver. The only thing that it takes from us is our faith and to come to him in prayer. God is so good, and he wants us to connect with him in time of prayer and in time of affliction. Go to him. He will give you the peace that you're looking for. Amen.